Alright, alright. I'm gonna need to think about this. I'm gonna need to think about this a little bit. Alright, so the other thing I can check is like an overlap sphere sort of thing. So why don't we see if that works? Alright, so we're gonna see if this overlap sphere is gonna return anything, because we could do a combination of overlap. Because what I was seeing there is the complex collision stuff. When I turn it off, no longer was I seeing the rock look real nice. It was like the rock was looking a lot fuzzier on that texture and stuff like that. Like it looked wrong. So turning off the complex stuff may not be in the cards, because like, and it wasn't always returning true. So this is some of the issues with sometimes like the engine lies to you, and it's like, well, what are you gonna do about it? That's right. I'm gonna go cry about it. I'm just gonna go outside. I'm just gonna yell at random people on the sidewalk. Just be like, hey, you buddy, come over here. You want to? What do you think about ray traces in the Unreal Engine? And before they even start talking or get confused at you, you just start yelling. You're like, I think they're bullshit, and here's why, and just like lay out on them until they just walk away. So the question we want to see is if this overlaps is ever getting called. Not a fucking chance. Overlaps is empty. Well, there's another reason for that, but I need to have this world stuff. Alright, let's see what we got going on here. So if this doesn't work, we're going to try turning off that trace complex for the overlap sphere, and we're going to try a bunch of different things to see if we can get it to work. So we should definitely get called down here. It does get called. Overlaps 1. And see, look at that. Look at that right there. Like, that's the difference between tracing complex collision and not tracing complex collision. And that's what I'm talking about, is like the rock looked wrong. So, god damn it. Stupid Unreal math. Alright, let's try this with complex on for ray trace and the overlap sphere. And this is why you gotta just double check absolutely everything when you're working with these engines. Any engine, just... This would have turned into, you know, some sort of graphical plug with the shore or just whatever the hell. Just... You gotta do what you gotta do in order to make it work. That's why, like, we're gonna reach critical mass of systems that I've written in this engine and are working with stuff, and stuff will actually work as it's supposed to work. And when it says I will return true when this condition happens, it will actually do that. Which is what we're working like with the crawl and the other stuff and like the animation events, and like this event will always fire, and then it does actually always fire. And then what do you know? You can actually build a system. It doesn't take you all frickin' day to do it because it's not a pile of garbage. It actually adheres to what it says it will adhere to. The world static channel is the thing that's going. Hmm. So we'll see what we can do here. So this overlap is supposedly doing what it should. Alright, let's see. This is overlap not returning when inside object unreal. Yeah, the overlap just isn't working when you're inside of this thing. I mean, is there something else that's going on with this sort of thing where enable collision is false or some sort of crap? No. Ah, it's just frustrating. So if we do the overlap sphere and we do trace complex and we just change that to false, what do we get then? Do we actually get the correct value for this thing? And it's always just frustrating that these sorts of things happen. I mean, I could try moving stuff around and doing other things, but just, God, what a pain in the ass that we don't actually get. Like, I just want to know if I'm inside of another object. And it's like, nope, can't do it. Map don't work out. I'm like, well, what the fuck? Like, this is not rocket science. This is pretty simple stuff, to be honest. Like, it's a simple question. I want this to return when it is inside of an object or not inside of an object. Alright, so what's happening here is the complex trace is picking up the outside, and the simple sphere check is picking up the inside. So what the hell are we supposed to do about that? Well, let's think, is there any clever solution that we can implement where this will work properly? Like, if we're inside of an object, when are we going to be inside of an object? Is there some sort of reasonable expectation that we can have? Like, if we just jump up by a couple meters or something and then cast down from there and get a distance or some crap, then we can assume we're inside of an object. Can we just use the simple collision? You know, is it good enough? Well, Adam, we're messing around with getting these height maps to actually work properly, which is more frustrating than you would actually expect, because when you're inside of an object like that, things don't seem to work properly. Because this is, the inner part is getting triggered by a sphere overlap check. The outer part is getting triggered by a complex geometry check. The complex geometry check is correct. But the complex geometry check does not return true when it's actually inside of the object, which is fucking garbage. So what could we possibly do about this sort of thing? Well, let's think. Let's think. Is there any way we can get this information out of this system some other way? Like, we can always just have a line trace from way above it and iteratively come down or something else like that. Like, get the bounds of the object that we ray trace and see if the bounds of the object that we hit with the trace extend below the object or into the plane of the water. And then we could just like go down, but it might have some, there might be some interesting bugs with that. It'd be nice if just like the goddamn thing, like, am I inside of a piece of geometry, actually freaking worked in the damn physics engine, but it doesn't, because I don't know why. It just doesn't. Nothing's really coming to mind. Initial overdrive, return face index. Maybe I can just screw around with these params until we get something here that works. Let's see if any of this does it. What a journey. Messing around with all this crap. It's ridiculous. I just want to know if we're inside of an object in a certain position in space and time. It's frustrating that we do not have a function that returns if we are colliding with an object or not. It's also frustrating that the resources online don't actually give us any reliable answers on this question. Yeah, we throw this rock right in there, and then we do this, and it doesn't detect any hits. Nothing. What a piece of fucking trash. Well, let's see if it has something to do with the scale of the object. Doesn't look like it. Let's take a look at the boulder. It doesn't matter if it's static or not. We're not doing anything there. Is there anything about this? Should we show the collision? Show the simple collision. We can show the complex collision. So is there something we can do about this thing to make the simple collision match the complex collision? None of this seems to do anything. That's pretty damn funny that its accuracy setting doesn't do anything. So I guess we'd have to enforce convex rules on stuff if we wanted this to actually work. That's what it looks like. Alright, let's see if I can save this boulder. So let's turn off the complex tracing and we'll see if it looks anywhere near okay with a few extra polys on this thing. I'm just not very happy with this. I almost want to do a render pass. You know, because we're going to be using this for freaking looking at stuff. I almost want to just do a render pass. And that the ray trace stuff may be just the wrong solution. And we should just be doing rendering. Now those little things that are sticking around it, are they... Why are they there? Oh, come on, this isn't the only place in the document. We already know that. I mean, if we did a complex ray trace and we just stepped up a few times, like... God. Why is everything always so difficult? Why can't I just get the answers I need? I just want to know if I cast a ray straight down, if it collides with something. But no, can't do it. It's impossible. It's just not possible to do. Alright, so that was that sphere stuff not working properly. I mean, it's not terrible. Like, those are all of our places where we were colliding. It's probably good enough. Well, I guess that's just what we're going to have to go with for now. If we find that there are problems with this method, we will just need to figure out a different way to mess with it. And if we have to go all the way to doing some sort of custom render pass stuff with objects and some sort of bounding volume, then so be it. We'll do it later. And I think we'll go with what we got now. It's not pixel perfect. It's pixel perfect with collision volume, so if the simple collision volume actually works properly, then we're good. And it's probably good enough for everything we need. And at least it's accurate for everything. So we may also need to do some sort of post process on this texture, like blur it a bit or something like that. But we'll mess with that when we get there. Alright, so let's just do this ray trace, and we're gonna make a new ray trace function. We're gonna call this ray trace hack. And this will be what we call to do all these things. I'm just going to call it out as a hack because it's not giving us really the right information. It's giving us almost the right information. So I don't want to say like, yeah, this is all good. It's amazing. It's going to be like, well, it's good enough. We may find that we actually really need something else in place here. So let's at least build this up, and let's start messing around a little bit with our blueprints. I'd like to at least get it so I can change the resolution of the height map dynamically, and I also want to get it so we can save the height map inside of our object itself, so we can build the texture, because right now we're not saving it, which is why every time I load up the editor it's a big white nothing as opposed to the actual height map. I'm starting to run out of brain power as well, just kind of being upset with raycasting not working. Kind of just being upset in general doesn't really help. So I'm just gonna grumble and whine and be a pain in the ass. Alright, cool. So that's looking actually pretty decent. That's our depth and all that. If we look under the surface here, we can see that that is correct. Like, you're like, what's all this garbage? It's actually garbage. We've got these glowing rocks in the inside of there. Alright, so what we want to do is when we move this, it gets reset. Let's get the test content, water. Let's get rid of this geoplane. Nobody uses you. When do you not grumble and whine? The spawn box, you know me too well. There's like a level of grumbling and there's like sarcasm mixed in there where it's like me actually bitching about something because I'm like literally upset with it, or me just bitching about something because I haven't bitched about something for a couple minutes. And this is more turning to like I'm actually upset and angry with life and bitching, which is probably what Twitch chat always wants me to be like. The salt levels, you know, like I should have a salt meter on the side of the stream that's just like it just slowly rises until it's just like overflowing. Is it not possible to make that material refract? I will be working on making the material not look like absolute garbage town after I get my math in there and information proper. But yes, it is definitely possible to make it refract. I'm just viewing the debug layer right now. That's the depth under it. And I can also look at the normal that's below it. So if I do this, it's actually going to tell me the normal of the impact point of the collision that it actually got. So you can see where it actually collided. So, I don't know, we might be able to use that information somehow. But you can kind of see there's, you know, flat stuff down here versus like these creases and stuff. So you can see where the map tells us that there's things on the bottom and all that. Yeah, so basically we're just in the alpha channel of this texture is our height value. And it's just a byte, so it's not super precise, but it's precise enough for what we need it to be. Alright, so let's see. We're in test water. I'm going to fill a height array. We're going to need the water. Let's do a height map resolution. Let's set it to be an integer. Let's have it go from yeah, I guess we'll just let you pick whatever the hell height map resolution you want. So we'll go from like 256 to 4096. And let's start off with 1024. Well, 512 while we're messing around with it here. So we're going to grab our height map resolution. We'll snap that in there, and we're also going to change our resolution here in our construction script, or I guess we should just set it right in here. So we're going to go to our component that we made. What are you doing exactly? Pasting assets together? Well, basically for our water, we're going to have 4 different textures, one of which is a height map, which we'll use to determine how close we are to shore and stuff like that, so we can, figure out where we are in the body of water. We're going to have a flow field for the direction of the movement of the water, so we can have, like motion of ripples and things like that. We're going to have some object maps of things that are in the water, and then we're also going to have a ripple map, which will have all of the ripples on the surface of the water. And those 4 textures combined with all the equations and random noise and other crap inside of our material is going to make our water system work properly. So we're starting off just getting all the information together so that we can make the water, once it's all, we'll make the water material for real once we have all the correct information in order to actually make the water material work like we want it to work. Alright, so we need to set the texture size here inside of our blueprint. Alright, so we're going to call set texture size for static, yeah, right here. Yeah, hopefully my explanation made some sort of sense there. But we have quite a bit of stuff that we're trying to work on, so it'll make more sense once I can actually like click and show all the debug layers. The spawn box, we're working on the visual look of the game at the moment because we kind of know what mechanics we want. But we're at the point where we actually need to start making assets for the game. And if we don't know all the stuff that's necessary to make the asset look a certain way, we run the risk of making a whole bunch of assets that look like crap because they don't work inside of the art. They don't, like, oh, well, you can't use this translucent object, you have to use a masked object, so you got to go redraw that character. So we're at the point where we've proven out a lot of our stuff like movement and the rest there. We know how we can do that and how it works, and we're proving out all the basic graphical systems that we're going to need. Alright. Alright, so this is going to be the max depth for the water. And this is going to be the resolution of the height map. The resolution of the height map texture. Yeah, it's kind of one of those points like, theoretically we could make the whole game without any art assets. But a big part of this game is going to be that the art looks really cool, and we only have, one artist dude. He's in chat. He's Cluade, Adam Phillips. He is, so we need to get the look of the game stuff set up there so he can start doing his work. Because theoretically, I can make the whole game with boxes and spheres, and it would work properly, right? But then basically I make the game, and then 2 years later Adam ships the actual game because of art. So reality comes into play. Okay, so let's see if we can increase the resolution of our height map here. And if it does anything. It's looking like we actually got some stuff there. Let's try changing the resolution of the height map to something absolutely stupid like 24 by 24. Oh, it's only letting us put it down to like that? No way. I'm gonna get rid of this value range. I'm just gonna say you can't have it more than 4096. And I guess 0 to, like 4 to 4096. That seems reasonable to me. What is this? The range of allowed values outside of this will be clamped. Okay, that's good. So let's just see what a 4x4 height map looks like. Looks like absolute garbage, which is good. So that's with 12, 32. So you can see we get more resolution coming in here. Yeah, so will this be a free-to-play game with loot crates and random draws? Oh, hell yeah, of course it will. We're also going to release a collectible card game along with it. And you got to buy the cards and the codes from the cards in order for the game to function. In fact, you'll have to get your deck of cards while you're playing and deal them out to yourself. And then enter them all as you play. It's kind of like, that one console scanners where you had to like buy the scanners cards and like wave them over the console. So yeah, the resolution's looking pretty good with this stuff. Let's, we might be able to get away with like a 512 texture without it looking, absolutely trash. Alright, and let's change the maximum depth. So the maximum depth is kind of our range of values. So it's going to go from that maximum depth should be white. It is not white. So we should save all this stuff real quick and go fix that bug in the code. Yeah, of course we're going to have free character rotations, all that sort of stuff. So what's going on? The default color is max depth divided by 256. No, the default color should just be 256. So Spawnbox, you're asking, are you doing it like this for performance or pure style? Just asking why not take advantage of the new volumetric fog system under the water with a simple layer on top. Because we're trying to do a lot more than just fog on water, right? Like, uh, if we've got, a piece of water like this that we want to have in the game, we need ripples that are along the shore. We need, little ripples where a water droplet hits it. We need to be able to run on the surface of this water as our character and have our hooves actually leave little splashes and stuff like that. And if we have to do all that with particle effects, it's going to look kind of crap. So we want to have some basic effects that work properly and then layer particle systems on top of that later. And we're probably not going to be looking through a lot of the water anyway, so. And also fog and other things do weird things with lighting and shadows that don't always work properly. So if we can actually create a correct sort of material here, then the better it'll look. If we kind of start from a position of having things actually working properly.